Everybody knows that the 49ers were a powerhouse of the NFL for over 20 years after bursting onto the scene with a Super Bowl win in 1981 in their first return to the playoffs following 8 consecutive seasons without as much as an appearance. So what happened between the 13 division titles, 17 playoff appearances, 10 conference games, and 5 Super Bowl wins in 20 years, and the 49ers we know today with 4 head coaches in as many seasons? The story breaks into 2 parts. What happened to the 49ers dynasty from the 80s and 90s, and then what happened to the reborn 49ers that went to 3 consecutive NFC title games between 2011 and 2013.
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end.
In their 21 years of playoff dominance, the 49ers only had 3 head coaches and 3 quarterbacks. In the following years, they've had 7 head coaches, more than 10 starting quarterbacks to combine for 3 playoff appearances. Now, of course, a lack of consistency in those departments can be blamed, but it really comes down to something we'll see creeping up again later: an unexpected retirement.
Wow, so that's it, huh? Just 4 o'clock and you were gone for good.
Why am I so sad?
In week 3 of the 1999 season, Steve Young suffered a concussion which would end his season and career. Now, maybe this shouldn't have surprised the 49ers. Young was entering his 15th season and had had problems with injuries before, and to be fair, they had just signed Jeff Garcia out of the Canadian Football League. This softened the blow and allowed the 49ers to return to the playoffs, but Garcia was 29 when he joined the team, and after 3 Pro Bowl seasons, his play declined and he was released after a disappointing 2003 season. Maybe the 49ers were too content with 30-year-old Garcia. They made no attempts to secure the quarterback position in the long term with draft picks, leaving them starting 2 7th-round picks in a 2004 season, which saw them get the first overall pick in 2005 after winning only 2 games.
James Harden's defense. Sit back and watch. Oh my God, damn.
The 49ers were known for their offense, but out of each of their 5 Super Bowl wins, the lowest ranked scoring defense they had was in 1988 when they finished 8th. But even before Young got injured, the defense had started to decline. Charles Haley and Ronnie Lott had both left the team by 1991, and when the 49ers won their last Super Bowl in 94, they had 4 defensive players make the Pro Bowl that year. Come 1999, they had 2, and in 2000, they were down to 0. It's not that they weren't trying to replace talent. In 2004, when they went 2-14, they had 9 defensive players on the team picked in the first 2 rounds. But on offense, they were starting 7 6th and 7th rounders. So that's the story of the first decline. The 49ers didn't successfully keep the same level of talent on the team that helped them win 5 Super Bowls. They attempted to solve the quarterback issue probably a bit too late by drafting Alex Smith first overall, but that just led to a whole new chapter of 49ers history. For a franchise that got to enjoy seeing 2 Hall of Fame players under center one after the other, the 49ers faithful sure have had to endure a lot of turmoil at the position since. Even if Aaron Rodgers hadn't won a Super Bowl before Alex Smith ever threw for 3,000 yards in a season, 49ers fans still would have had plenty of reasons to be less than ecstatic about their first overall pick quarterback, and they showed it. However, after getting a 6th offensive coordinator in 7 years, Smith was finally ready for the big time, and his play improved beyond belief. Unfortunately for Smith, he was injured as the 49ers cruised towards a Super Bowl appearance in 2012, leading to Colin Kaepernick taking over, which led to a new love-hate relationship. Kaepernick's play began to decline, and after Harbaugh was let go after an 8-8 2014 season, things only got worse for the 49ers in their quarterback position. So far, we've focused a lot on quarterbacks, and they are of course important, especially in the history of the 49ers. But the quarterback situation didn't change between 2013 and 14, yet the 49ers went from 3 straight NFC title game appearances to missing the playoffs entirely. And then they went on to win only 9 of the next 44 games following Harbaugh's departure.
So it begins.
So what caused the 8-8 season? Well, not too many changes took place. Cornerback Carlos Rogers, who'd started all 48 games in his 3 years with the team, was released, but aside from that, the roster hadn't really changed. The problem was injury. For the previous 3 seasons, Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis formed the greatest inside linebacker pairing in the NFL, without a doubt. Bowman was of course gruesomely injured in the NFC title game loss to the Seahawks, and Willis played 6 games in 2014 before going on injured reserve. That of course left a huge hole in the team alongside a rash of injuries to other key contributors, but the result of the season led to a landslide of changes at the following offseason. I'm going to speculate here, but I think the following changes started and were largely affected by the first of many, Jim Harbaugh's departure from the team following the 2014 season. After that, it started on March 10th. One of the best middle linebackers in the league, Patrick Willis, announced his retirement. On the same day, franchise legend Frank Gore signed with the Indianapolis Colts, and Pro Bowl guard Mike Iupati signed with the Arizona Cardinals. In one day, 3 starters and 2 All-Pros from the 2012 Super Bowl team were gone. The 49ers also lost 2 starting cornerbacks from the previous season in Chris Culliver and Parrish Cox, who signed with other teams on the 13th and 14th of March, respectively. The Willis retirement hurt a lot because at least the other 2 players were allowed to leave in free agency. However, Bowman was still around and rookie Chris Borland had shown a lot of promise, racking up 108 tackles and 2 interceptions in 8 starts. Then, on March 16th, Borland shocked the football world by announcing his retirement after only 1 season due to concerns related to head injuries. And with that, the 49ers fell into true apocalypse mode. On April 13th, Michael Crabtree signed with the Raiders. On May 18th, 5-time All-Pro selection and 2-time team MVP Justin Smith retired. On June 5th, starting right tackle Anthony Davis retired. A day later, punter Andy Lee was traded, and 1 month later, the off-troubled Aldon Smith was released. On November 2nd, it finished with the 49ers trading away Vernon Davis. In total, 9 starters from that Super Bowl team left the 49ers in a single offseason, and of course there were another 10 starters from that Super Bowl season who had left in previous years. In 3 years, the 49ers lost 19 starters, including the kicker and punter, and there's only 24 starters on a team, both literally and in regards to the team information I'm using. At the beginning of the 2015 season, the 49ers were left with 5 starters, 6 including Kaepernick, who didn't start that 2012 season as a starter. Joe Staley, Alex Boone, Ahmad Brooks, Navarro Bowman, and fullback Bruce Miller were all that was left. The team had only played 2 seasons since that Super Bowl appearance, and those were the only starters left on the team. Just on a real quick count, the Patriots returned 9 starters this season from the year they beat the Seahawks, and this is a team that is notorious for moving on from guys, and the Seahawks returned 9 starters from their 2013 win, and that's not counting Bennett and Averill, who led the team in sacks that year despite not being starters. This kind of exodus isn't normal. The 49ers were blindsided by it, and by the time anyone had stopped to take a breath, the team had seen a whirlwind of coaches and GMs and faceless starters in nearly every position. I would argue that both times the 49ers went from playoff powerhouse to a team chasing the first overall pick, it was down to unexpected retirements. First, we saw Steve Young step away, and in 2015, it was unbelievable how many vital players called it quits. At the same time, bad roster management and front office decisions played a role too. The 49ers have too often acted like a win-now team when it was no longer the case, but now with Jimmy Garoppolo, Shanahan and Lynch, it looks like they are embracing the rebuild.